the Smith Wesson M&P line, covering the full size, the mid-size, which is not shown here, and the compact. This one is in 45 ACP, this is in 9mm. Safety check for the safety sallies. Nothing in the chamber, nothing in the mag. Everybody's happy there. Nothing in the mag, nothing in the chamber. We're good. Now we can play. So, why am I a big proponent or fan, I guess I could say, of the M&P line as opposed to what everybody else on the planet is going with, Glocks? What makes these better? Well, start off, made in America. And that's kind of a big thing for some people, and for me, it's not a complete rule. I've obviously broken that rule a few times, but it's more of a general guideline. I like to keep my dollars in the United States. I know Glock has a manufacturing facility in Georgia. They're starting to make like the Glock 19s and Glock 17s, but still, Glock is still based in Austria. Your dollars are going out of the country. Yeah, so don't get me on a political rant around that. But it's made in America, which is in itself a good thing. It's also stainless steel with Melonite coating. Glock is still a mild steel with their Tennifer finish, or whatever they call it now. They've changed it since then, since they originally came out with their coating for EPA reasons. So, yeah, I mean, once this coating wears off, you still have stainless underneath. And getting this coating to wear is quite the trick, because I've been carrying this quite a bit and not the slightest bit of holster wear whatsoever. And in this one in particular, I use this a lot with a Kydex holster. And I've done some training on the range with this, doing a lot of drawing, shooting from the holster and so on. Not in the holster, and I am not seeing any wear whatsoever. I'm not being abusive with my pistols, but I'm not treating them like safe queens. So they hold up good. And again, once the finish wears off, you still have stainless steel. So rust, not really a worry. That's a huge thing for me. I have alien acid sweat. If it's anything blued or parkerized, anything other than stainless and polymer, it'll rust. So that's just me. Another thing, ergonomics. I love the way these feel compared to a Glock. Part of it's the grip angle. This is more of a 1911 style, which most pistols kind of have this general grip angle. I think it's a, oh gosh, I don't know what degree of angle, but it's more typical, and it's more of a natural pointer compared to, say, the Glock, which is based on, I would think, more like a Walther P08 from World War II, the Luger, which is way more forward, so whenever you're pointing it, it's it's at a completely different angle, so you have to correct for it if you're not used to it. So, say what you will about Glock being, it's so ergonomic and everything, it's just not for, or at least for me, for a lot of people. And the way the grip is shaped, Glock loves to make 2x4 grips. I mean, I know that they got the Gen 4s, have these interchangeable backstraps, which got the idea from Smith Wesson, I believe, because these guys have been doing it for a while before the Gen 4s came out. And it's still, they suck, honestly. This is my opinion. I mean, they don't fit my hand very well. Some people like it, a lot of people don't. And these, however, are more suited to a lot more individuals. This is the mid-size grip here I'm showing. It's got a little bit of a swell there. Other than that and just a little bit more hump on the back, it's pretty close in size to the small size grip that it comes with. It also comes with a large grip, which has a dramatically larger back hump and a little bit more swell, and then it comes up to the back here, all the way up here, to thicken the overall length of the grip. So your fingers, if you have long fingers and big hands, you're not having to pull your finger back this way to get it on the correct part of your the pad of your index finger. So fits a lot more shooters' hands correctly. It's very, very comfortable to hold. I like the takedown lever being here that has this little knurling, which is supposed to make it easier to push down, but it's also a nice place to set my thumb when I'm doing a thumbs forward grip. It's just kind of like a tactile, not tactical, but tactile place you can feel, so you're on the right spot when you're gripping it. Just your hand goes there, it just falls right into place. So nice little details, things like that. The scalloping on the slide serrations here, these are very grippy. No matter how sweaty, slick, slimy your fingers get, they're so easy to grab overhand, or if you're one of these people that does this kind of thing like I used to do, it's just really, it just digs in your fingers like fish scales. That's, you know, they're kind of sharp. They don't chew up your skin. They won't hurt you, but they're very effective. Another thing I really love about these, Smith & Wesson, once again, knows how to do a loaded chamber indicator. Unlike some others like, I don't know, Ruger, they don't have this giant flag stepping going, look, you have a round in the chamber because you're too stupid to know your gun's loaded. You know, you just look in there. If you're in doubt, you can just peek through this little peephole here. If you see brass, you're loaded. Now, of course, a sane, logical, intelligent person would either press check or just do a full-on safety check if you're in doubt, rather than relying upon some little mechanical doohickey to tell you whether or not your gun is loaded. And that's just another little gripe in itself. That's subject for another video. Picatinny rail and full-size model and the compact. Some of these compacts in particular don't have an accessory rail. I don't care myself for concealed carry. I'm not one to tack on lights, but if you use this for home defense or if you use this as a duty gun, that's something you might consider a huge plus. Is, you know, you got rails with multiple little notches on here for your mounting positions, so that's a good thing. Very nice 3-dot sights. I once again prefer these over the Glock. They don't have the goofy U thing in the back with the front dot. These are metal sights. These are not polymer sights like the Glock, so we have a little bit better material there. The magazine capacity on the 45, small gripe, is a 10 round plus one in the chamber in 45. Now I know Glock's 21 is a 13 plus one, so they have a little bit of an edge there, but in the 9mm compact, the equivalent in a Glock would be a Glock 26. Those are a 10 plus one, and here 12 plus one. So you got 2 extra rounds. So it kind of a wash there. But even with the flush fit mag, you're still getting a 12 round capacity. So I know you can get the +2 extensions for Glock, but that's aftermarket. We're not talking about it. We're talking factory. Now you'll see a little difference thing here. See this little hole right here? Now this is something, it's could be considered a plus for some, others it could be kind of a minus. What this is, sorry I got allergies, is the safety. This one in particular came with a manual safety. Now the plus side of that is it's very easily removed. You just take off your slide, knock out this little pin here, your trigger group pulls out, and the safety just falls out. Put it back in, put your pin back in, slide back on, you're done. That's it. Easily to reverse too. You just reverse, you know, installation, just put it in there, put it back together, you're good to go. So, and a lot of people go, oh, why would you buy a gun that, if you just need to remove the safety, you should have just bought a gun that didn't have a safety. Well, on this, the safety is completely redundant and unnecessary. The trigger pull on this is exactly the same as the ones that don't come with the safety. See, this one here has this little plug from the factory. This is where the safety normally would go. But the trigger pull, the length, the weight of pull is exactly the same. So it's completely unnecessary. Now, again, let's say that to me is kind of a slight gripe, because I'm thinking, why would you put a manual safety if you don't need it? And I'm just not a big fan of manual safeties on my carry guns. But the plus is it's easily removed, and yeah. And the other thing is, when you do have the safety on here, which I've got it in the safe at the moment, but the manual safety on here, when you do have it on there, it is a very nice, wide, ambidextrous, lefty and righty, a very broad, easily switched on manual safety. It's very easy to swipe with your thumb, just like that. It's not like a lot of those, like the SR9, where you have this tiny little nub, which is even smaller on the SR9 than the slide stop on this gun. It's like half as big. It's like a chiclet. I mean, that is, you really have to put a deliberate effort into getting it switched off. This one, it's very natural, and especially if you're familiar with like the 1911 and you're transitioning to, like, say, this for a duty carry gun, easy transition, everything's the same. So that's a good thing. And the overall form, again, like I say, it's very nice. It's not overly thick. It's not blocky. You know, it's got some nice rounded edges on here. And if you're looking at concealed carry, rounder is better, because squared, pokey surfaces are not very comfortable, just in general. The back end on here on the full size, you'll notice, also has a beaver tail, whereas the compact is more of a flush fit, or whatever it might be called. I've never had any problems with slide bite on the compact at all, so this seems kind of unnecessary to me, but it's something nice to have, and the fact that it doesn't have it on the compact also makes it a lot easier to conceal because it's one less thing sticking up. Another thing that I like about this, slightly less squared grip than, say, the Ruger SR9. I know I'm picking on them right now, but you know, what the heck. Also, compared to the Glock 17, which some others have pointed out, the magazine sticks out kind of like as an afterthought. Like, they made the gun like, oh yeah, we got to put a mag in there. Instead of making the magazine fit flush, Glock has theirs just hanging out there. And on Ruger, even though it's a flush fit, it's this very squared outline. And if you're looking at this as a concealed carry piece, that's a lot harder to conceal. This one here, as you can see, if I'm holding this level, this has a slight angle to it. Not as dramatic as the compact, where here you have a lot less hanging past here, but you also don't have a full grip on this one. This one, you have a little bit of wasted space right here, but it is better than the Glock and the Ruger. So that's a slight advantage, not a huge one, just something worth noting. Ideally, I wish they would have gone with the same grip lines that they did with the Sigma and the SD series pistols, which is almost the same kind of angle as this, but with a capacity that's almost the same as this. Say like 9mm, for example, the full size M&P only holds 17+1. I shouldn't say only, but that's 17+1. The SD and the Sigma pistols in 9mm hold 16+1. And they have this much shorter grip. There's no wasted space whatsoever. It comes exactly right where your hand would end, right here. Unless you have giant monkey hands, it would come right even with the end of your hand there. There's no wasted space. You still have a full grip on there, and you will only give up one round. So, not sure why they felt the need to get this little extra bit of material here, but whatever. A little thing that's kind of a gripe, kind of a, I don't know. This little bobber here, the so-called takedown tool. The only function I have for this is if you're changing out the grips. Now, mine fortunately came with mid-size grips installed, and this thing is a bastard to pull off. It's really hard to pull out. Anyways, but you pull this pin out, and you can pull your grip panels off. You can put on your small, medium, large, whichever one you want on there. But what Smith & Wesson thinks this is for, other than that, is as a takedown tool. Let me show you real quick. Lock your slide back, rotate this little takedown lever forward, and then inside there, I don't know how well it's going to show up on there. Can't really see it with the light. But inside, right here, is this little tiny yellow tab. And they think you're supposed to use this tool. You're going to go through all the trouble pulling that thing off just to go click. And see that little thing sticking down now? For that. Now, all that does is it pushes the sear down so you can pull the slide off. But you know what? Without doing that, see it's pushed back up. Without doing that, I could just as easily let the slide forward and pull the trigger. Slide comes off. And see this little right there? See that? That's your sear. So this little yellow jobby right here, this little tab, that's what we're talking about flipping out. And see, when you push that down, you see how the sear's flat? That's what allows the slide to go forward. See? But it's not a necessary thing. You don't have to use this stupid little tool just to do that. You can just pull the trigger. Well, I don't like to pull the trigger on a gun because it might go off. What's the first frickin' rule you do whenever you're cleaning a gun, whenever you're doing anything with a gun other than shooting it? Check to see if it's unloaded. I mean, seriously, is it that hard to follow a simple, basic rule? No, we have to engineer a new part to make up for the fact that people can't safely handle their firearms. Duh. You know, that's, to me, it's just ridiculous. Now, that's something Glock does, is, you know, you pull the trigger, you know, pull down the little tab, pull the trigger, and then let it slide forward. Guess what? Smith & Wesson copied that when they made the SD and the Sigma pistols, and nobody seemed to have a problem with that. But for some reason, they thought it was a big thing. They had to invent this little pokey-do just to call it a takedown tool. I don't know. It's bizarre to me. It makes no sense whatsoever. But, you know, functionally, again, you can just completely ignore it. Just leave it in there, never pull it out. That's why mine's so hard to get in and out, because I never take it out for anything. I just, whenever I'm disassembling, just pull, you know, flip down your takedown lever, pull the trigger, and pull the slide off. That's it. So, it's one of those things you can just ignore. The trigger on the older ones in particular, this one I think must have been among the last to come out with this kind of trigger. But the newer ones are supposed to emulate the trigger that's found in the M&P Shield, which I have to do in a completely separate review because this, as much as it looks exactly the same as this, just a little thinner, this is quite the different creature. So, but anyways, as I was saying with the Shield in particular, the trigger, they're going to be switching all these over now supposedly to this style trigger where it looks the same, but it's a little shorter take up. The break is a little more crisp. And then the reset, this is the big thing. If you're real hung up on the reset issue, you can hear it, you can feel it. It's a very definite reset. Not dramatically click, you know, real loud or nothing, but it's there. Now, my 9 here, the 9 compact, is one of these with the newer trigger style. And I don't know exactly when they started doing this, but again, click. Now listen. You can feel it, you can hear it. Okay? This one, like I say, is the older style. And if you're looking at buying one of these, you might want to check this before you buy it. But this here, you have a lot more squishy, mushy take-up going along. When it does break, it's a little more firm, a little more effort. And then when you reset it, this is the big thing. Listen very closely. That's it. You can't hardly feel it or hear it at all. So if you're trying to be one of those people that shoots some reset, it's really hard to do. Because you don't know whether or not you get it. You might end up short stroking it, or you just end up letting it out all the way, which you kind of have to do on the Sigma and SDs and some of those. So, not crazy about the trigger, and it's not really meant to be a target shooting trigger. They do have a competition series of pistols for the M&P. It's called the Core style, and they have some extra deals. They got a longer barrel. They've got higher sights that are meant for either going over optics, or if you have a suppressor with a threaded barrel model, you have a suppressor. It allows you to see over the suppressor, and they have a little dig out rail thing right here for mounting optics, like a red dot. So yeah, they have those that are specialized for that. But as far as, you know, duty, concealed carry, home defense, you really don't need or want a hair trigger, really. It's just, it's enough to, you don't have a hair trigger that you're just going to accidentally touch and snag and boom, blow your leg off or anything. But it's not so, excuse me, it's not so heavy that you're, 12 pound like the infamous original Sigma trigger used to be, where it's damn near impossible to hit anything at 7 yards. It's nothing dramatically horrible. So it's kind of a meh trigger. Not bad. I like it myself. It's just kind of a happy medium. But some other people might be really turned off by it. They do sell aftermarket trigger kits by Apex that resolve a lot of that. And they have it's got a more obvious reset point. You can feel it, hear it more. It's a little less take up and so on and so on. But yeah, if it's a carry gun, I just like to leave it pretty much as is, with the exception of, like I said, the manual safety. Now, focus on the little compact here a little bit more for a moment. The compact is, shooting it, especially with the pinky extension on here, is very much like the full size. In fact, when I was shooting the 9mm full size and the 9 compact, one after the other, I had them both at one point, there's almost no difference in recoil whatsoever. All the manual arms is exactly the same, trigger feel exactly the same. The only thing that would be just difference is, your grip size. Obviously, you got about a 1/2 inch difference in length here. You don't have below the magazine base, and you have a little slightly shorter sight radius. That's about it. Other than that, it's functionally the same gun, same width. You still have interchangeable backstraps on the compact model. Your magazine release is still reversible. Slide stop is still ambidextrous. Gosh, people got me saying ambidextrous. And your magazine, or your manual safety, is ambidextrous on those that have it. So really, there's not a whole lot you can say about the compact that isn't already really covered by the full size. They're kind of one and the same. But the compact I really, really, really like for a concealed carry piece. You have something that's the size of a Glock 26 for less money, made in America, stainless steel, fits my hand just like a glove. I don't know about some of y'all, but this is just way better feel in the hand. Holds 12+1 instead of 10+1 from the factory. I don't have to buy an aftermarket add-on base plate, and this does not add anything. The flat fit base plate that this also comes with, it still holds 12. So it's just for what you get. It's a great carry piece. I can conceal this in just, you know, shorts and a t-shirt, and not even a loose t-shirt at that. I'm talking like a, you know, fairly not snug fitting, but just a regular t-shirt. You don't have to dress around your gun. You don't have to overdress. You don't have to wear baggy clothes. And you have a really, really good shooting pistol here. It's easy to shoot, reliable as heck. I've never had any issues with this one. The 45, I've had one issue, and that was due to ammo. I had Winchester white box, and the cartridge, the brass on there, was just like bulged or something, because even if it would partially feed, it was stuck like that trying to feed in. When I took out the round, set it aside, and later on I tried to drop it in the barrel when I had it disassembled, it wouldn't even go into the barrel. So that was just ammo. Other than that, not a single issue. Feeds, fires, ejects, no problem, no light strikes, none of that with any of these. This is my third M&P I'm on now, and they've all been wonderful with no problems. So really, that's about all there is to say for the M&Ps. I mean, it's just a fantabulous line of pistols. They made them in the 45 to compete with some of the other companies for the military, and when they were considering, you know, taking bids from all these other companies like Springfield and Taurus to make a 45 caliber issue pistol for troops. And even though they backed out of the program, there was never any issues with them. And I've also seen, they've had people that have done torture tests with, like, say, the 9mm of the M&P full size. They've run over 50,000 rounds through there. Not a problem. Sure, there's some things that have worn a little bit. They're like, there's some crazy things. You're getting over 50,000 rounds. That's absurd count. But some of them had like a slide crack and things like that. But it still functioned safely. It still works. So realistically, most of us are not even going to shoot that, you know, any fraction of that. But even if you do, there it is. Long-lasting, durable, well-made, very ergonomic, priced right. And you can get these less than 600 usually. I paid right around 500 each for these, for each of them. So it's reasonably priced, and better materials, better workmanship. Just overall a better deal than Glock, in my opinion. So for what it's worth, sorry it's been a rambling long review, but covering a whole line of pistols in this one. So again, for what it's worth, that's my 2 cents on that. Thanks for watching.